Hello from the MKM Stadium car park on a night where Hull City have been beaten by Ipswich Town 2-0. For 65, probably 66 minutes, the game was fairly even. City were well organised, were well drilled, were disciplined, and if I'm honest, didn't really look like conceding a goal. And then Kieran McKenna, the Ipswich Town manager, he'd already made one change at half-time with Jack Taylor coming on. He made three more, which saw Akpom and Jaden Philogene, two of those coming off the bench. And within moments, the first goal came, and it came down the left-hand side. Jaden Philogene cross. Nunes got the run on Charlie Hughes, who got caught underneath the cross, and that was headed in. And within a couple of minutes, City's defence fell apart. It did look offside at first, but it wasn't offside. Akpom touched in at the back post, completely unmarked, freed in the 6-yard box after Pandora sort of, I don't know what he did. There was a header that he pushed out, and it was turned towards Akpom. And I think Ryan Giles on the left-hand side had played him on. I think everybody in the ground thought he was offside. City's coaching staff thought he was offside because they were furious. One of Sergei Yakurovic's coaching staff was booked by the referee, Lewis Smith, for their protestations. Admittedly, I thought it was offside in real time. But obviously I've seen a replay since, and Gilo, I think, plays him on at the back post. Well, Gilo's this side, Akpom's the other side, and he plays him on. And in fairness, that was the game done and dusted with, 15 minutes to go. It's hard, in some ways it's harsh on City, that I thought they were organised. I thought they were the better team Ipswich were really, look, Ipswich I thought were rubbish for 65 minutes. They offered absolutely nothing. You know, straight from the kickoff, they got a corner, and you're thinking, right, here we go. They're well up for it. He'd made 6 changes, McKenna, from the draw with Wrexham, and you're thinking this is going to be a long night for City with all the players unavailable. But they grew into the game. They looked brighter. They had a couple of really good moments, and Darla had a couple of moments down the left-hand side where he sort of, the first time he ran the ball out, he ran out of room. The second one, he tried to cross and it ricocheted off him and back out for a goal kick. He then had a shot that the goalkeeper, it looked like it hit the post, but I think the goalkeeper got to it just before and he turned it away. Gelhardt had a couple of moments. Probably the best chance they had in the first half was when I think Regan Slater burst through, fed Carl Joseph. He went through, and you're thinking, right, open yourself up and shoot. And he cut back on his left and dragged it wide. And you're thinking, you've got to hit the target. Against a team like Ipswich, who are, they perhaps not had the best start to the season, but they are in good form. They've won the last 2 away games 4-1 at Swansea and QPR. You know, they've got obvious quality. When they can make 6 changes and leave out players like Jack Taylor, obviously Jaden Philogene, Chuba Akpom, you know they've got obvious quality. But I thought City were, as I say, for 65 minutes, I thought they were more than a match for Ipswich. But the reality of it, and it's not an excuse, but I think the reality of it is when they are bringing on the likes of Jaden Philogene against the tiring, Louis Coyle, and then obviously Cody Drame came on after that. City don't have those players. They're bringing on, with respect, David Akintola, and they're bringing on Anis Destan, and they haven't got that quality. And I think what we saw earlier in the season, when City went toe-to-toe with Southampton, with Sheffield United, with Leicester, they had the likes of, okay, McBurney wasn't there against Leicester, but they had Liam Miller, they had John Lundstrom, Matt Crooks. Tonight, there was no Liam Miller, there was no Ollie McBurney, there was no Matt Crooks, there was no John Lundstrom. Mo Balloumi's, he came off the bench, but he's nowhere near fit. He's got no rhythm. He's not in any kind of form. So effectively, that's five of their first team players not in the team tonight. If you're gonna go toe to toe with these teams, you need all your best players fit. You also need to do basics very well. And I thought for 60 odd minutes, defensively, Shemi Ajayi, who came in for John Egan, I thought Shemi Ajayi was very good alongside Charlie Hughes. I thought they defensively, they were really good. Amir, although he was a bit poor on the ball at times, Amir, he shielded well. But when he went off, they lost that shield. But you cannot switch off against these teams, and it only takes a second, as Take That once sung. You cannot take your foot off the gas, and Philogene comes in, crosses it. Nunes pulls off the back of him and he heads it in the net. And the second goal is a mess. It's just a mess. From the moment the ball comes in, the header down, Pandor flaps at it, it's prodded back, and nobody's marking Akpom in the bar, 6 yards out, and he has the easiest task of touching it into the empty net. It's a really bad goal. And having conceded one within a couple of minutes, I think 4 minutes officially, but in terms of actual gameplay, what, a couple of minutes, they're 2-0 up and the game's gone. I would question second half whether City had the belief that they could go on and win the game, that they genuinely believed that they could win the football match. But I think the key thing in the games we've seen already, that against Southampton, against Sheffield United, against Leicester, those sorts of games, City have scored first. If City score first in that first half, totally different game. The atmosphere is very different. It was a very quiet ground, because largely the game was a really tepid, really strange game in the first half. As I say, City were for me, were the better team. Ipswich were really, really odd. They just looked disjointed, and they couldn't string two passes together. He obviously, as I say, he brought on Jack Taylor. He then brings on the three he does, including Jaden, and it changes the game. And we can criticise City for this, that and the other, but it's hard to get past the fact that they've got so many players out. And as I said before, it's not an excuse, but City aren't good enough to be able to string a huge amount of results together without all the best players. They're Darko JB came in. I thought he did okay, but that's his first start since Sheffield United. Balumi came off the bench, coming back from injury. Undala was bright and breezy, but they just miss. They miss that bite. They miss Lundstrom. They miss McBurney up front. Carl works his socks off. We know that, but he just is not a clinical finisher. That's not him. And when he has a habit of snatching at chances, that chance that in the first half, you've got to hit the target, at least make the goalkeeper work. I don't know why he's on his right. Why doesn't he not pull the trigger and shoot? He comes back on his left and drags it wide. In games against teams of that quality, as I said before, Ipswich haven't had a great start, but they're starting to find form. They've got an incredible squad. Parachute payments, 200 million spent, all that sort of stuff. You aren't going to create reams and reams of chances. When that chance comes, you've got to at least hit the target, and they found hitting the target tonight really, really difficult on the chances that they did have. But as I said before, it was a moment of quality from Jaden out wide. He pulls over the cross, they lose Nunes, and he heads it in the net. And the second goal, as I said before, is just a horror show. And that is the theme of it at the minute. The goals they're conceding, another two tonight. As I said before, for 60 odd minutes I thought they defended really well, but you take your eye off the ball and you'll get punished, and they ultimately got punished tonight. So that's 2 straight defeats now. QPR, what for a lot of people will make it feel worse tonight is what happened on Saturday. I think if they win the game on Saturday, tonight's not necessarily a free hit, because I don't think there is in the Championship, but it takes the pressure off tonight. Even if they get a point at QPR, it takes the pressure off tonight. Tonight feels worse because of the way they threw it away at QPR, and that was always the case because of what happened on Saturday. It was always going to put the element of pressure on, and that was always possible tonight. That was always, I think, most of us coming here tonight felt that this was the most difficult game of the season. It was a really difficult one, and so it's proved. And as I said, for 60 odd minutes, you're thinking, they're well in it, and if they can get out of here with a point, that's a very good result. Maybe they can nick something. That had been an incredible result, and clearly the best result of the season, but it wasn't to be. It's a harsh lesson. They've got to get players back. Lundstrom hopefully back for the weekend. It looks like McBurney, I know he's back on the grass, which is a massive step forward. So hopefully McBurney for Stoke next weekend. Sorry, for Middlesbrough next weekend, obviously Stoke this weekend. And Liam Miller possibly as well. They need those players back, but equally they're coming back, Lundstrom's been out for 8 weeks, McBurney's been out for 6 or 7 weeks. They're going to be, there's so much expectation on these players to come back and have an immediate impact, but they need, we've said it for weeks, even when they were winning games, we said that what happens to City this season, their longevity will be dictated by their ability to keep key players fit. If they have luck and they can keep everybody fit, key players, the spine of the team, they've got a chance. And I still think they've got a chance of making a play for the top 6. We can't write them off because they've lost 2 games in a row. It's the Championship. It happens. They're still in a very good position, and it's still been a really positive start given everything in the summer. So let's not lose sight of that. But we always said that any success this season would be down to them keeping the likes of Charlie Hughes, of Shemi Ajayi, of Louis Coyle, of Ryan Giles, of Lundstrom, of Miller, Bellumi, Ollie McBurney, keeping all those players fit. And unfortunately, for so long, they've not been able, those key players, particularly McBurney, Lundstrom, obviously Crooks was a big miss tonight as well, just haven't been available. So I think they've got weaknesses. Yeah, Richard, in terms of defending wise, we aren't great effort, never lacking, but the back five are always making mistakes. The goalkeeper needs competition. He's too. I agree. I agreed 100% with the goalkeeper. From the first minute, I thought Panda looked unsettled. I mean, Charlie Hughes fizzed one back to him. He turned on his left. It looked like he took it out for a corner kick. The referee got away. Oh, the linesman wasn't up to play, so he got away with it. But he kicked it. Then he kicked it straight out to an Ipswich player. He then got done for really early on. He got done for holding the ball for too long. Gave away a corner. The second goal, it's a difficult one because it's quick. It's straight at him. But goalkeepers are about reaction. I thought that was poor. I agree with you. The goalkeeper doesn't. The goalkeeper's a concern that he's very. I'm a big fan of him. He's a great lad, but he's very inconsistent. One week he's very good. Next week he's very inconsistent is the word I would use to describe him. And I think that is a problem for City. Is you don't know quite what you're going to get from moment to moment. And he's, as I say, he started that moment. It's almost like that. When something happens early on with Ivor, it knocks his duck off, and Charlie fizzing that ball back to him taking it out for as I say, he turned onto his left foot. It looked like he took it behind for a corner. He got away with it, but then he kicks it straight, a bit like against Preston. He kicks it straight to an opposition player. It's not like he clears it to the halfway line and City get out, and then he's straight back, and then you caught time waste. He was time wasting from early on. You know, whether he's switching off, but you cannot afford at 0-0 against a team like Ipswich, 20 minutes in, to be giving away a corner because you've held on to it for too long. So they're little basic things that I think they've got to be ironed out. So yeah, but I agree about the competition thing. I just don't think there is the competition there. Andy, get Zambrano back and get Zambrano in and send Amir back. I actually thought Amir does quite a good job. A lot of it's unseen, but the problem with Amir is what you do. What a lot of people then see is him giving the ball away or trying to twist and turn on the edge of his box when he's got three players around him and then tapping. He gives the ball away in really bad areas quite a lot, and I think that's a real Achilles heel for him. In the Championship, you aren't getting that much. I said this the other week that he was getting caught on the ball so much against Charlton. The goal comes from Amir he does brilliantly to win the ball in the first instance, and then he plays a really stupid pass, gives the ball away, then doesn't get out to close down. Sorry, this is against Portsmouth. Doesn't get out to close down Murphy. The ball's in, and they've scored. And similar tonight, that his use of the ball at times is so slow, and but he actually does quite a good shielding job at times, and I thought they missed him when he went off. So, but I agree with Zambrano. Danny, it was a step too far for the players we've had available tonight for the quality of the opposition. You know, our top players back on the part for games like this. The quality was never there from the first whistle. Yeah, again, I've said this at the top, that if you're going to go toe to toe with Ipswich, who are in good form, you need your first choice team, and we can lambast this and we can criticise that, and they're all valid points. The two goals were really poor, totally avoidable, but City were tiring. They put a lot into the game. They were really well organised. They worked so hard on and off the ball, and then you're chucking on Philogene. Let's put it into context. You're chucking on a £23 million winger, and he's pinged over a ball for Nunez, who's headed it in. So yes, we can criticise things about City, but I also think you have to be fair and objective and say, but they're bringing on a £23 million winger, and we're bringing on a free transfer. And this is no way intended to slag off David Akintola at all. But it's you also have to be realistic, and they're bringing on Philogene, and you're bringing on a free transfer from Turkey in David Akintola. They're not the same player. They're not the same level. And again, that isn't to diminish Akintola is clearly a very good footballer, but they're not in the same league, and that is, on nights like tonight, you're hoping, with all the injuries, all the players unavailable, you're hoping they have a bit of an off night, you have a good night, or you get a decision. The referee was terrible, I thought. I highlighted it on the podcast yesterday, and it was only an observation that in his 16 games this season, half of them have been in the Conference North, Conference South, and then he's refereeing Chelmsford in the Conference South or whatever, and then he's refereeing a Championship game. I thought the referee was poor. Could there have been a penalty for City in the second half? I've not seen a replay. I just think the game, I don't think he was very good, personally. That's not why City lost, before people come at me. I just didn't think the referee was very good. But you need, on nights like tonight, when you've not got your strongest players, you've got players that have not played a huge amount. Undala's not started a lot of Championship football. Darko JB I thought was good, but hasn't started a lot of Championship football. You know, Carl Joseph has got through a lot of work. Joff I thought looked a bit tired at times. Obviously Destan wasn't fit enough to go 3 games in a week, so they're trying to manage him. Balumi's not fully fit, so there's so many things, and again, they're not excuses. City were beaten by a team that they've just got better players. They've got a better squad. You know, it's levels, and I think, as I said, for 65 minutes, I thought they were more than a match. I thought they were more than in the game, and ultimately 2 bits of quality. City have switched off. They've been punished, and that can happen in any game at this level. And it's now about how they respond. Obviously, Stoke have had a phenomenal win. Crunch Charlton again at home tonight. Stoke are second. That's a big game for them on Saturday now, City. To go there and try and avoid this becoming 3, because 3 defeats, then you've got Borough at home. That's a tricky run. But look, they've had a very good start to the season, so we shouldn't lose our minds over the fact they've lost a couple of games. I think the more disappointing one for me was Saturday. I think tonight can happen. If City had been at full strength tonight, they still could have lost this game, because Ipswich are a better team, and that's not being disrespectful in any way to Hull City. I just think they've got, from 1 to 22, I think Ipswich have got a better squad, and I don't think anybody of rational mind could say that City have got a better squad than Ipswich Town. So even with a fully fit, with McBurney fully fit, with Lundstrom, with Liam Miller, with Balumi, with Matt Crooks, even with Elliot Matarzo, Casey Palmer, I still think Ipswich can win that game tonight. But Saturday is the one that really rankles, because they weren't great. They've scored twice, they've led twice, and they've contrived to lose the game. So I think when we get frustrated with tonight, I think it's really the frustration of Saturday that is seeping through. But it's the Championship, and if you're not quite at it, you'll get punished. Let's have a quick look. Charlie, we can see 2 goals or more a game. It's not good enough, and it's costing us. Can't argue with that. The goals against are a problem. They're conceding. We said it yesterday. They're averaging 16.5 attempts at their goal every game. That is, that's a recipe for disaster. Tonight's the first night, first time they've not scored, I think, since Blackburn here. So that's, again, that's been a good run. Ipswich just scored them. I thought Greavesy was brilliant. Dara O'Shea, they kept City at arm's length. If you think of chances in and around the 6-yard box, there weren't too many to speak of, and you have to credit Leif Davis did a fantastic job. Furlong on the other side. They defended Giles really well. Only a couple of times did he put balls in the box and there was nobody really there. So look, McKenna's a top manager at this level. He's won promotion from League One. He's won promotion into the Premier League. I just think we got schooled a bit tonight in that final 20 minutes when we're grappling, we're battling. They bring on the players they do. They show that little bit of quality that it can happen. Sometimes you've got to take it on the chin and deal with it. But Charlie, you're not going to you won't find anybody arguing when you concede in 2. You're giving yourself. We've said it before. We say it all the time. When you're conceding 2 goals a game, there's only so many times you can pull a rabbit out of the hat and score 3 or get a point, as you did against Preston. You can't keep conceding 2-3 goals a game and expecting to win football matches. It's so obvious, and until they can start keeping clean sheets, and as I keep saying, for 60-odd minutes they were well on the way, but I guess for 65 minutes it didn't really matter because they've ended up losing. Let's have a look at comments. Yeah, Mikey, agree. Amir, at times he's great. Yeah, like I say, I just think sometimes he looks really good. He shields really well. He does a lot of stuff that people don't always notice. A bit of ugly stuff, a bit of protecting. but he just gives his use of the ball at times is so frustrating. Like their number 5 Ipswich tonight, I thought he was brilliant. He did the Mika Seri job. He never really saw him. You didn't see him. You can't say, well, he did that ball. That ball was phenomenal, or that cross, or that slide rule pass was sensational. He just mopped up. He just protected Greavesy and O'Shea. He just did the sweeping, that traditional number 6. Prutz will kill me for that, saying the number 6, but that defensive midfielder that just covers across, sweeps across, mops it up, stops the runner, and does all the, breaks up play. He did all that tonight, and I thought he was brilliant. And Amir sometimes does that, but as I say, sometimes his passes, you're holding you're covering your eyes, because you're like, oh, you've done really well to win the ball, then you've played us back into trouble, or you're trying to play the Hollywood pass like a QPR Saturday. You've won the ball brilliantly. Just play it simple. You don't need to go for the Hollywood pass all the time and try and, take out 2 defenders to try and switch it. If it's on, go for it. If it's not on, go short. Go the other way. I don't know, but yeah. Johnny Mika Seri type player. Yeah, that's why I think they'll try and get Zambrano back, because Zambrano is that kind of player. If he can get minutes at Maribor and get regular football, get back into the swing of it, get match fit, maybe that's that. But that is a player they are lacking. They really are missing a Mika Seri, that experience, that guile, just to pick the ball up off the back 4, thread it through to the players that can create. You don't need him to go past the halfway line. You just want him to sit in front of the back 4, mop it up, break up play, stick his foot in, break up, do what he needs to do. And that is a problem. There were a lot of times tonight when the ball went straight through midfield to, even first off to Hurst, and he was turning and using the, Jack Clark and Nunez and getting players involved. That is something that they miss. They really miss that enforcer, that player that breaks up play and just shields the back 4. Lundstrom can sometimes do it, but they've obviously missed him. He's been out for so long, and even if he's back in the squad Saturday, I would be surprised if he starts. Matty thought City looked knackered at QPR, and the same tonight. Injuries biting at a tough time with difficult fixtures. Yeah, and again, not going over old ground, Matty, but we all said it. We all, a lot of teams are struggling with injuries. It's just unfortunate City have gone. And let's be honest, the fixtures they've had, they've done really well to get the points return that they have with the quality of player that's been out. And players that have been coming back that aren't fully fit. Bloom is coming back, but he's nowhere near. You see that tonight? Nowhere near fully fit. He needs time. He needs minutes. And it is hard. But the plus point is these players are coming back. They've not, at the minute, it doesn't look like, touch wood, they're not picking up any fresh injuries, which is I'd probably put the mockers on it now for Stoke on Saturday, so I apologise. But McBurney's not far away. And I know fans are frustrated. I get it. That he's always coming back next week. And I understand the frustration. But they have to be really careful with him. He was. They hoped he would be back for Norwich. He had a setback. What they can't do is rush him back, because the fans we're all clamouring to get McBurney back, and he wants to come back and all that. And then he goes out there 15 minutes into the game against Stoke. He's pulled his calf and he's now out for 3 months. They can't afford that. So if it means they've got to kind of muddle through for another couple of weeks until he's absolutely okay to go and play 90 minutes back to back over the festive period, so be it. We'd rather not have him for the next couple of weeks, but then have him all the way through Christmas, than rush him back and he's out for Christmas. So I get the frustration, I understand it. All we do is report. We go to the press conferences, we ask the manager or Dean Holden for the update on the player. If they say we think he's going to be back for Stoke, we report he's back for Stoke. If then the medical staff and McBurney decide, actually, we've got to, he's not going to be back for Stoke, he might be back for Borough, then so be it. It is what it is. These injuries aren't an exact science. You can work on training plans and get, recovery plans, but it's never an exact science, and everybody's body's different, loads are different, the severity of injuries are different. You have to be really careful. So I understand the frustration, but I don't think we can slag off the medical staff, because they have the players' best interest at heart and the football club, and they don't want to rush these players back and for them to break down and be out for longer. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next couple of weeks, by Middlesbrough next Friday night even, you've got Lundstrom back, you've got Miller back, and you've got McBurney back. Suddenly the outlook looks a lot brighter. And as I say, I don't think we should get too down after tonight. I think, as I say, the frustration of tonight is from Saturday, but I might be wrong. Starting with 3 defensive midfielders, we already had no chance. I still think we created chances. I think we created good moments. We just didn't take them. You know, JB's had 2 or 3 efforts from the edge of the box. Gowart's had a couple of moments. Kyle's had a couple of moments where he should score. He should at least hit the target. You know, you're never going to create legions. You're never going to create legions of chances against Ipswich again with all the players out. Nate, you look at the bench. What could he have done differently? We've already said that Destan, you know, with another game coming Saturday, having played on Saturday, just gone. Let's not forget, he came here with an injury, so he's still working his way back to full fitness. So I look at the bench and I think, what would I have done differently? Well, probably not a lot. You know, Balumi wasn't fit to start tonight, so he could have started Balumi, and he goes down after half an hour, he's out. So I don't get. I think the team set up I thought was okay. I don't think I'd have done too much different. Easy after the event, but I don't think I'd have done too much difference, if I'm honest. Adam thought the Ipswich goal was offside, but according to people, Giles was played it. Akpom, what's your thoughts? I thought, again, I've had the Ipswich fans coming for me on, obviously, because I thought it was offside. In my real-time reaction, I thought it was offside. It wasn't. We've seen the replays. We don't have the benefit of TV upstairs. All we get is real time. It looked offside, but it wasn't offside. And I thought there was a shout on a penalty potentially. Thought the referee was rubbish. He's pulling the lad's pulling back Joseph, and then he gives the free kick the other way. But yeah, no complaints about the goal apart from obviously absolutely shocking defending. There we go. So right, I'm going to call it a day in just a minute. Andy, I mean, I've just said it was offside, so irrelevant. I'm just saying, as I said before, in real time, at the back of the West Stand, the very back row, it looked offside, but it wasn't offside because I've seen the replay. So there we go, job done. Michael, I'd be looking for another goalkeeper in January. Yeah, I think the goalkeeper needs. I think the goalkeeper needs competition. I don't think he's getting it, and that's I'm not criticising Dylan Phillips. I just don't see the level of goalkeeper being like Carl Rushworth 12 months ago. So I think they need to. Obviously, the situation in January is going to be really, really difficult. Matty, a bit like the transfer window, things are moving all the time. But yeah, the fluid. That's the thing. Things change. You know, this is what people don't get. I think it's frustrating when you're trying to report on things that are moving all the time. You know, let's go back to the transfer window last season. I had a phone call from somebody here to say Thomas Asante was signing for Hull City. We report that he's signing for Hull City. He ends up at Coventry. You report what you're told, and with injuries, if you go and interview the manager and the manager says we expect player X back, we think that player X will be back in training on Monday, and then he's not back in training on Monday, it can't be helped. It's, you know, I don't know what more you can say about it. I think, you know, when you're poorly yourself, you think, I'll feel better tomorrow, and actually tomorrow comes and you feel worse. It's the same sort of principle. And there's no silver bullet. There's no guarantee that you've got a hamstring injury, right? He's got a hamstring injury. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. He will be back, guaranteed on this date. He will be back. It doesn't work like that. So I think we have to try and, you know, it's frustrating. Yes, of course. And what I would say is, for every one of us that gets frustrated that Ollie McBurney's not available, imagine how he feels. He's sat at home. He can't affect it. He's having to come and watch the games. He'll hate it. Nobody will be more frustrated than Ollie McBurney. Nobody will want to get out on that pitch more than Ollie McBurney. So, but it's people's bodies. And it's their careers as well. So we have to be a bit patient. As I know it's annoying. I know it's frustrating, but you can't do anything about it. Brandon Williams was on the bench tonight. They're trying to get him fit. He's not played for 2 years. And if you've watched him play for the under-21s, you can see he's quite a way below where he needs to be in the Championship. But he was back on the bench tonight. Just a couple more quick ones. Yeah, Michael, City in the game tonight until they change it. I've said that, yeah, absolutely agree. They brought off off the bench a £23 million winger. Makes a difference. City can't do that. City can't do that at the minute. Paul put pointless signings in Firmino and Williams. Well, Firmino might have a look in when Ajay goes to the Africa Cup of Nations. So, you know, Egan will come back into the team. Suddenly, they haven't got that cover. So Firmino was signed as cover. He was never signed as a starting player. And Williams, you know, if Giles goes down on Saturday, suddenly Williams might get a look into. It's a squad game, and it's a 46+ game season, including cup games. Although normally City only have 2 extra cup games. Let's hope that's a bit different in the FA Cup. But that's another story for another day. You know, so we're only in November. Well, coming up back end of November. You know, these players will be required. Firmino will be required. What's saying that Ajay goes to the Cup of Nations, Charlie Hughes gets suspended, gets sent off for 3 games. Suddenly Firmino's in the team. So they're not at all pointing the signings. I disagree massively. They need their squad players, and they will be needed at some point. I don't doubt it. Nigel, do we think we'll sign anybody in January if we get rid of the odd player? They're going to have to sign players. But obviously the transfer restrictions makes that difficult, but we'll cover that at another point. Right, that's me done here at the MKM Stadium. I'm going to head home. City beaten 2-0 by Ipswich. Important they get back on the horse, so to speak, at Stoke on Saturday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your comments, questions, as ever. Keep them coming in. If you want to get in touch at the 1904 Club, we will have a podcast for you after the Stoke game. We're not going to have time, unfortunately, before the game against Stoke this weekend. If you're travelling to the Potteries, have a very safe journey down the M1 A50 for the early kick-off. And hopefully, City go there and win 3-1 again, because they've won 3-1 there for the last couple of years. Excuse me. Let's hope they do it again. Thanks for watching, everybody. Safe journey home, and we'll catch you again soon. Up the top.